Becky stars Lulu Wilson as the title character, a young girl whose mother passed away and her father, played by Joel McHale, starts dating a new woman played by Amanda Brugel, and she resents him for it. In an attempt to reconnect with his daughter, they all take a trip to a remote cabin in the woods, which gets interrupted when they are held hostage by a group of neo-Nazis led by Kevin James, who are trying to locate a mysterious key. If the first thing that came to mind for you when hearing that synopsis is Kevin James is a neo-Nazi, well, you're not alone there. This movie got a decent amount of attention specifically for that casting, because not only is this the first time that Kevin James is out of his comfort zone, but he's playing someone who's the bottom of the barrel to boot. So right up front, I'll say he was fine, but this isn't the big transformative performance that you think it will be. I mean, he's someone you can take seriously, and this proves he can definitely work outside of his comfort zone, but this is more a case of him working with what he's given more than anything. He's not presented with many opportunities to be this big, menacing, sinister threat that he should be. Because the thing is, while he is a neo-Nazi, you can actually remove that from the script, tweak a few lines of dialogue, and you pretty much would have gotten the same result. Because his actions, for the most part, really fall in line with just being this run-of-the-mill bad guy. Even the key that he's looking for, you never really learn anything about it or why it's so important. It doesn't add any complexity to his character, nor does it make him any more threatening. It just serves more as this MacGuffin so that we can watch this hostage situation unfold. And really, this isn't his fault. It's actually the fault of the writing. In fact, the screenplay is easily this movie's biggest weakness. And it mainly boils down to one big reason, which is that characters don't necessarily do things because it's the natural thing to do, but more so because the script called for it. There are multiple times where characters need to get from point A to point B, and it's clear that the writers couldn't figure out the best way to do it. In order for these characters to move around where they're needed to move, the writers call for some pretty contrived setups, or they'll have the characters act in ways that contradicted how they acted in previous scenes. Some characters will be ruthless one minute and they won't even listen to reason, but the next time we see them, they'll be these bumbling oafs who can't do anything right. And it's clear the writers are forcing these situations. There's one scene, for example, where in order for one character to get the one-up on one of these neo-Nazis, it requires our villain to awkwardly, and I mean awkwardly, stumble through the woods for a good minute or two because something he needed dropped on the floor. And they drag it out, and there are a lot of eye-rolling moments like that. Despite that, I think you can actually find some enjoyment from watching this. It seems like the angle that the filmmakers were ultimately going for was this gory B-movie vibe, even if the tone wasn't totally consistent. Basically, when you think about it, this is essentially Home Alone reimagined as a horror movie. Once Kevin James and his goons kidnap everyone, the rest of the movie is Lulu Wilson, who wasn't around for the initial kidnapping, coming up with elaborate traps to brutally murder each of these neo-Nazis one by one. So if you like B-movies, or if you enjoy gory action horror movies, the massive problems in the screenplay are gonna be forgivable to some degree. I actually enjoyed this overall, even if I was groaning a few times whenever there was a moment that was clearly forced in by the writers. It's pretty bloody, and some moments are actually played for some good over-the-top laughs. Plus, I found some of the setups to be pretty creative. And while they don't tap into how horrible these villains really could have been, they at least do enough that it's satisfying whenever Becky goes after one of them. I'd also say this benefits from some overall solid performances from a likable cast. I enjoyed Lulu Wilson. I think she's a great fit for horror movies in general. She was in both Ouija, Origin of Evil, and Annabelle Creation, and I enjoyed her in both those movies. And this gives her the opportunity to let loose and have some fun. And she's a big part as to why this movie is so enjoyable to watch. And both Joel McHale and Amanda Brugel were good as they were trying to help Becky cope with her mother's death. The strained relationship that Becky has with her father was captured pretty well, especially the resentment she has towards him for seeing someone else. Now, they definitely could have leaned into that dynamic much more. There were definitely some wasted opportunities to explore this a bit deeper. But what they had to work with, which was the case for everyone else, was good, and they made for some characters who I had no problem rooting for, which makes up for some of the issues I had with the screenplay. This movie was fun. Problematic, but fun. I definitely took a lot of issues with the screenplay, mainly due to the fact that it could have leaned in so much more to these relationships as well as who these villains were, on top of some of the behavior just being contrived. However, if you don't take it seriously and just view it as a B-movie with a lot of bloody violence, it can actually be pretty fun. There are times it can be legitimately creative, so I enjoy that. And combined with some likable performances that gave us characters we can care just enough about, it made for a decent watch. Becky gets a 7 out of 10. Meanwhile, if you're a fan of Christopher Nolan's movies, I'll have the next part of my series on the director coming out tomorrow. I'll be talking about Memento, and I'm very excited to talk about that movie. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. So let me know, did you see Becky, or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you like the action? Did you enjoy Kevin James' performance? And what's one of your favorite cabin in the woods type stories? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you next time.